Even before COVID hit, higher education in this country was in a very sorry state because of the impact of misguided austerity that it imposed on it. In February, before COVID arrived, further and higher education were still suffering a cumulative impact of 550 million in cuts that are less than the funding that existed in 2007. Student to academic ratios had gone in that period from 1 to 16 to 1 to 20. The numbers in third level had gone up by an incredible 50%, while all of those cuts had been imposed. The Cassell's report suggested that we needed at least an extra 600 million, this is pre-COVID, by 2021, and $1 billion extra by 2030. Now, if that was the sorry situation, and just to put it, really dramatically, there was more investment per horse in this country than there was per student for most student categories pre-COVID. Now, how can a really disgraceful situation like that not then make our capacity to deal with COVID for students and for our third level sector all the more difficult, notwithstanding the positive decision to set up your department minister and some additional funding. It's not enough to even bridge the gap of the austerity cuts that your government had previously imposed, or to bring us anywhere near the level of investment which now needs to dramatically increase in the light of COVID. And of course, one of the impacts, which is very relevant to the COVID situation, that this had put pressure on third level institutions to concentrate on ratcheting up numbers in order to get registration fees, and in order to make money out of student accommodation on campus, overpriced student accommodation, and to increase their reliance on the higher fees they receive from international students. And what I'm hearing, talking to two people in universities in Dublin today, is that actually the universities are over-promising what they can deliver in terms of a face-to-face experience in the environment of COVID, because they're desperate to get the numbers in, and because they want people to come into the student accommodation in order to get the revenue, even when the students are very uncertain. They don't know what they're facing, they're not going to get face-to-face lectures, and it's very, very questionable how much face time they will get at all. So many of them are wondering, should we come? Should we pay out big deposits to get student accommodation? Will we get shafted the way we did back in February, when we had paid deposits, we paid rent up front, and then we were put out because of the pandemic? Will we be in the same situation again? Now, against that kind of background, it seems to me very simple. This is not an easy situation. I understand that, Minister, right? But there is no justification. There was never justification for registration fees, the highest in Europe. They should just go now. There is no justification to charge those €3,000 to students whose families may have also lost income, and where the students themselves' capacity to gain employment while working will be very significantly diminished. So that's my main call. Get rid of the registration fees. Do it now. They shouldn't have been there in the first place, in my opinion, but they have absolutely no justification in the context of COVID. And let's get our levels of investment in higher and further education up to something like the European standards. And where could you find the money? Well, 700 million is going in research and development tax relief, mostly to a few big corporations. Why don't we redirect some of that money into our universities? Lastly, Minister, and I don't expect you to answer my main points, but one question. I wrote to you on the 30th of July about psychiatric student nurses who've been told they've reduced their placements for 6 weeks and then self-isolate for 2 weeks after, and they can't have other employment because of COVID, right? And they are looking for some financial assistance because they can't work.